Shorten Williams!
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to SA Rugby Magazine. I am Kevin Ferguson. I've got a very cantankerous Scott Gibbs. I don't know whether it's the fact you're leaving me on Tuesday, Scott, and that's finally sinking in maybe a little bit. But you're like, this may be a Waldorf and Stadler type show.
Oh.
And I think, Ticketmaster hasn't been your best friend over the last...
No, this is, I'm having hot flushes thinking about Ticketmaster. I don't know if it's menopause or, as you say, early pre-flight jitters to return to the UK. But I spent half an hour yesterday trying to download, my ticket for the Saturday test match.
Yeah.
You'd swear I was trying to break into the CIA, Digitalization.
Yeah.
I know you love it, folks, but let me tell you, I fucking loathe it.
Yeah. Look,
I loathe it. You want me happy? Put me in the mountains with books, pens, papers, writing letters, old school, off the grid, totally analog. This technology is doing my head, but...
Well, look, it's you're not the only one. I know that a few of our clients and whatnot that were trying to get into the Boks, we've had issues registering. I don't know who writes all these rules and how they become so complicated. But it was pretty simple to just get a ticket before, go to the game, give the ticket over, and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, well, I'm not a doist when it comes to technology, but two-part verification. I get it, but. When the left hand is not speaking to the right hand, it's just, I wasted half an hour yesterday. That just put me in a real bad mood. I am going to have a rant this morning.
Yeah.
Like an epic one. Like an Ozda fucking rant. That's what I'm going to do today.
There you have it, folks. We got Scotty Gibbs, cantankerous, wrong side of the bed. And I always try and put you on the right side of the bed, Scott, when I wake you up. Yeah, you're welcome, sweetie. Okay, we've got All Blacks versus Springboks in Cape Town. A great occasion.
Hottest ticket in town, has been for months and months.
Yeah, oversubscribed. I think there was 185,000 applications for 15,000 tickets. So
grateful to have one. Thank you.
Yep. And we'll make sure you get it. You've got it now, do you?
Yeah, I have it. But when I actually got to see the barcode, there was no way to save it apart from doing a screenshot and such. Couldn't save it to the wallet where it's nice and neat.
Yeah.
So when I go to the stadium on Saturday, there's going to be no problems, folks.
Yeah,
and there's a chance I get shut out of the game, And then you will hear the rant. It'll be like the noon guns going off.
Well, and you're not a technophobe, but I'll
I'm
give
not
you that
I'm not
because
a
I'll come down.
no.
I'll say DSTV isn't working. You got to put in some, and I'll just go upstairs and put on my computer, and I'll come down. You're watching one of the games or something like that. So you're not.
I'm just fed up. It's ruling our lives. I remember years ago I had this beautiful long spell in the great state of Wyoming, and I was in a bar one night and speaking to a guy. I noticed that there's very little traffic and very low population with a huge landmass. So I'm there, and I think the Packers are on, and I'm watching football. I'm in my happy mode, and I said, listen, as an observation, I said, I noticed with the cars, and people don't indicate in Wyoming. He said, yeah, because it's none of your goddamn business where they're going. And I was like, yeah, that excites me. And that's what this technology, the digitalization, is driving me insane.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's certainly led to more taxes. You can't even drop there's no such thing as a drop and go at Heathrow anymore. You got to pay £10 if you want to drop, which is 125 rand for those. Not in the now.
Yeah.
No, sorry. £10 is what? Times 25, it's 250 rand, isn't it? To drop someone off. So
it just makes life impossible. Yeah. Peace and quiet, books, and do you remember how to write, folks? Write a letter?
Oh my God, you're going.
Yeah, we're going off. I'm sorry. This is a rugby show now. We got the big test match.
Folks,
Can the Boks go back to back?
I don't know if you're the right person to tell us, Donnie Darko.
What's the point of living if you don't have a dick?
Yeah, besides all that, and I fully agree. I mean, I'm lucky. I've got a wonderful PA. She's been with me for 30 years.
Yeah.
She knows my left and right hand. And so
Saint.
I won't have to have any of those sort of frustrations,
No.
though I know a few of the clients have had them in terms of downloading this stuff. But let's get back to the Boks. A few interesting changes again, and I suppose you're going to have that one when you've got the depth that Rassi has to pick from. I was surprised to see Fassi's omission. I didn't think he had a bad game on last Saturday, so I guess I always rate Kane and Moody, so can't wait to see him play. Billy
Yeah, he
Leroux
comes back from a long-term injury. Again, sample size, we've seen enough of Kane and Moody to demonstrate that he's top-class performer, big game performer.
You like this Boks side.
Yeah, I prefer this Boks side this week than last week. I really do. I think it just demonstrates, growth and maturity in Rassi's thinking as well, given the magnitude of going back to back, setting another benchmark and another standard.
So do you think this would have been his team if the Boks had lost?
Well, I think it's closer because, with Willie there and Andre Pollard, you've got those calming, experienced guys who can control the clock, control the field. And there's no doubt that after last weekend's game and the early, certainly the first 20 minutes up to the half hour leading into the halftime, just 1 point behind, is that, they were struck by an All Black side that was dialed in, ready for it. So a fast start Saturday for the Boks is right up there. Has to take primacy. Get ahead, stay ahead. And that's where, I think these selections are merited.
What do you think of the All Black selections or admissions? Borden Barrett on the bench.
I think that's a
Blackadder.
surprise, given the fact that he's, clearly over the last 10, 15 years been one of the best players on the planet, isn't he?
Yeah.
And how much influence can he have in a late quarter?
Mm-hmm.
So that does surprise me.
Yeah.
Blackadder drops out because of a hamstring injury, even though his body of work last week was relatively good. I mentioned in the earlier the week that he fluffed 2 clear-cut chances. So Wallace Satiti comes in for his second start. More of a banger, more of a carrier, so I think they need that potency.
Yeah.
But they know everything has to go, they have to start well. They have to replicate and more what they did last weekend. And it is difficult. Kind of climactically, it's going to be different in Cape Town.
Yeah.
Weather's slightly different. There's a new pitch on the stadium.
Supposed to be world class though.
World class, yeah. So
Dry.
Expect an all-court game. However, you look at the lineups, there's a significant superiority from 16 through to 23.
You mean
Again, let's reinforce. Malcolm Marks coming up. Gerhard Steenkamp, Vincent Koch, Quacker Smith, Elric Lowe. The latter, had a huge impact on the turnaround last weekend.
Yeah. And I've got a feeling that this one, and I've got a view, and I'll crystallize that view towards the end of the show. I am nervous for this game. I know that Zels will be happy. I know that you're happy. Zels will be happy more because he keeps talking about this Springbok game, this power, the grunt, all that. I think that Zels is smoking too much Zol. I think that what
Too much Kool-Aid.
Too much Kool-Aid. I think that the Boks evolution has been wonderful to see. And there's going to be mistakes, and there's going to be things that they don't do well as they evolve. That's just part of the makeup of a team going forward. To have those options and to have a guy like Tony Brown in, and helping them evolve into that certain style when needed is tremendous. So I know that Zell's will look at this team and see it as a more conservative team, especially with Villiers Leroux and Pollard playing. But I don't know. There's only been 2 teams in the modern era that have ever beaten the Springboks back to back in a week. Can you name them? Yes, you can. Come on.
Well, it can't be hard, can it?
Ireland's obviously one of them.
Yeah. So Ireland have beaten the All Blacks.
All Blacks, yes.
Back to back, yeah.
Yeah. And the
South
other,
Africa.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's it.
That's it, yeah.
That's the only 2.
Yeah, it's a thin group.
Yeah, 2009, which Mark rates, and I think Victor Matfield rates as the greatest Springbok side of all time.
Yeah.
And the Ireland team. And Ireland beat them by double digits in both those games, I think by 10 and 11 points. So it's only happened twice.
Yeah.
So
But I agree with your former point about conservative selection. That said, and that probably more describes Villiers Leroux as an all-round player.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, excited, unpredictable, but you kind of know how he likes to drive the bus, control the traffic. And he's very good at the back at communicating with Pollard, telling him where the space is and where to attack.
Yeah.
I mentioned last week we didn't see a complete performance from Sasha in the number 10 jersey. I just think that Pollard gives you that and more. And I would expect Saturday that we see a lot more of him being a force multiplier, making those inside him and outside him far more integral in how they get people into the game.
Yeah. It's look. To me, the nerves around the betting is very, very close. It's a very close betting game, as you would imagine. Let's just go and see where. It was 4.5 yesterday. It'd gone in from 5.5. Let's just see where we are today. Bada bing, bada boom. 4.5. 4.5. So bookie's expecting a very close game. A 4.5. If you'd have bet on the All Blacks last week, you'd have won. That's why there's no such thing as a non-important kick for goal, kick for touch, take the points. It's when you're on the handicap, everything is in play.
Yeah, the significance of a shot clock.
Yeah, and I was amazed that the All Blacks didn't take their kick last week, take it to 14 points. Or 13 or whatever it would have taken it to. So that said, you're going to have Cape Town. The stadium experience for me is not the greatest yet.
The backdrop and the setting is
second to none.
Second to none.
Yeah,
I agree. It just hasn't had. There's not enough provenance in that stadium yet because it hasn't got a 25, 30-year history of multiple test matches.
Yeah.
So it's very virgin territory for both sides, really, when it comes to a test arena.
But it's a great stadium to watch a test match.
Yeah.
And it should be a good experience. I think the weather's not so bad, so it'll be good for a fan walk. If you can avoid taking a car into Cape Town tomorrow for the fans that are going to the game, please do. There's nothing more frustrating. And even if you think you're going to leave at 12 and get there at 2, add another 2 hours onto your time.
Well, unlike Cape Town, unlike many other cities, there's not many rat runs. You can, there's no little sneaky rat runs where you can, cut 20 minutes off your commute. There's 1-2 roads in, depending on what suburb you're coming from. So. Yeah. Be aware, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of the most. You never had these issues with Newlands, and you could leave 2 hours before the game and get parking and various other things. But in town, they close off roads. You don't know which roads they're closing off. Parking's not easy. I hope so. Build in some time, folks. Don't get frustrated. Don't get angry. Just go in early.
Don't be a Scotty.
don't be a Scotty. Just go in at 11. Go have breakfast. Go have a walk around the waterfront. Go and see Cape Town, but don't leave it to the last.
Don't
minute.
get in your way.
Well, I'm going to go in at 11 o'clock. We're going for breakfast somewhere.
Oh, lovely.
And Dad.
Well, that'll put a smile on my face, honey.
Yes, sweetie. Well, that's what I'm trying to do. Okay, so where do you think this game is going? Where's this game going, Scott? What do the All Blacks have to do to win and upset the much favoured Springboks?
Well, the All Blacks again have to turn. They have to turn up in form. They will have learned a lot from last weekend, and it's not about the fact that their inability to control the last 12 minutes and shut out the game, which is obviously a huge failure from a top-tier nation.
Yeah.
But they have to increasingly put pressure on the All Blacks. I mean, the set piece they did really well. I mean, they didn't challenge too many defensive lineouts. But the fact is that they had a lot of energy that just dissipated towards the latter part of the game that was perfectly absorbed by the Springboks because of their experience and composure. So then they could just turn that on its head.
Yeah.
And that's why I have to turn to the Boks, and I have to turn to the halfbacks, Grant Williams and Andre Pollard, because the responsibility lies with them, not only about creating a tone and a platform of territory and possession, which you can convert into pressure, but the onus on them to get some of the big names into the game early and regular.
Yep.
And it's great that we obviously that Sia has recovered from his bang. You expect Jasper Wiese to have, at least 15, 20 more carries this week because, they'll want to dominate possession, which is good. And I expect the midfield to up the work rate as well from an attacking perspective because they were relatively anemic in the attack last weekend, but prominent and prevalent in good parts in defence and in bad parts. Jesse Creel stepping out of the line, causing a dog leg, put a lot of pressure on his inside man, Damien Delende, to cover. So I think there were a lot of errors that created softer opportunities for the All Blacks last weekend that they're going to want to rectify.
Yeah.
But I think this weekend is about dominance of possession, control, the clock to convert. Well, the Boks will be disappointed that they weren't in the game for the first hour last weekend, and through good game management late on, they were able to rescue it. So it wasn't a lucky win for sure. It was a very well engineered late quarter, assault. Mm-hmm. The fact is, they're going to want to start better. They going to take the impetus and the energy out of the All Blacks front five, for them to tackle more, to fatigue earlier in the game, and then for a reliance on their bench to come on and make an impact.
Yeah.
And that doesn't look apparent when you look at the performers coming off the bench. I mean, it's stark when you look at the Boks 5-3 split. So,
well, do you think it's time? And this is to take nothing away from Rassie and what he's done over the 5 years, because I'm a big fan and he's a master. But don't you think it's time that the All Blacks waived this? You've got to play in the Super League, which is not so super anymore.
Yeah.
And allow guys like Brody Portalik and
Richie Mwanga, Aaron Smith. I mean, look at those names. If between them, there's hundreds of Test match experience, big game experience. They know what it feels like to beat the All Blacks home and away, beat the Boks home and away.
And that's one of the things that Rassie got right when he signed a contract with the Springboks, was say, I've got to have access to my overseas players. And so many of them are applying their trades overseas. Yeah. And
I think it's unfair, and I think it's unfortunate, because we want to live especially in rugby union, where we hold rugby in great esteem. But compared to the other global sports, the remuneration for rugby players is
pathetic.
Is pathetic.
Yeah.
Given the fact that we know how much sacrifice, application, dedication goes into,
and we're talking, and even the top paid rugby players
Even the top 1% and nowhere near. You know, pick a sport, pick a team sport, cricket. You know,
NFL, hockey,
soccer. You know,
basketball.
it is pathetic. So, you know, you kind of want to have free will to do what you want. Express. There's a finite amount of time as a rugby athlete to get paid.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
And if your choices are to go to Europe, because that makes it easier down the stretch to look after your family and such, or go to Japan, that's what you got to do.
Absolutely.
And the onus lies on the union. And the unions, you know, for years, you know, there's not enough money in the game. Well, do something fucking different.
Yeah.
You know,
there you go.
Create better deals.
There's your Osterant.
And share it amongst the players. And I think the players have to stand up from a collective bargaining agreement.
I agree.
And you know, either go on strike and say, listen, we want some skin in the game.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, it's still.
But don't cry to me just because that's what your clear mandate is, and that doesn't relate into performances or winning performances. The answer's there. Those guys want to be an All Black. They want to still play. There's still plenty of
games in these guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, one of the things that holds back the All Blacks, which is pathetic at this stage of a modern era of a game, and trying to sell the best players on the day to the biggest audiences, you know, because if last week's game was the norm, or became the norm, you'd attract far more rugby fans, and that's what it's all about. This is why we talked about rugby players being paid the worst wages out of any professional sport that I know of.
Any team sport, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
In relative terms, yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe even the Canadian curling team might make more money
Yeah.
than some rugby players. But you've got guys like Bertelic and Aaron Smith and Richie Mwanga that would fit into that team.
Still got plenty of life left in him as an All Black,
Yeah.
yeah. And you know, these guys make their choices, but the fact is that, you know, I think the players should have more say and more power in their own freedom and free will to sign overseas contracts, but still be eligible. I know that's the charter and the mandate from New Zealand Rugby Union, and it is the same for most rugby unions in the Northern Hemisphere. You know, they want to have control of their players and access to their players, but without the reward.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, it's still tough to sell rugby. Maybe they should look at doing away with something that clearly isn't working for them. Because even Wales does that, don't they?
yeah.
And in fairness, the Kiwis don't complain about it. You don't hear them whinging about it at all. But when it happened to the South Africans whinged a hell of a lot. Probably because we have more talent playing overseas than probably any nation,
Yeah.
maybe combined.
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt that when the Boks travel and play domestically, secure contracts in the UK or France or Japan, they still provide great value
Yes.
because of their appetite for the game.
Yeah.
You know, you very seldom are injured or just doing this for shits and giggles. You
Look,
know.
South Africans export well.
Yeah.
The
They
first,
do.
The first bunch of lads I worked with in the UK were South Africans, and they were a good laugh, hardworking.
They're a good bet. They're a solid bet because you know what you get. You get 30 games a year out of them. You know, they turn up day in, day out, passionate, salivating for the weekend's game, you know.
Yeah.
And
So that all this said, now here's my take on the game, and this is where I'm having problems. I think it's a more conservative Bok selection. I think that the we picked last week over 48.5, saying that would be bet of the week. I'd definitely be looking at under 48.5 this week. But I wouldn't do it, and this is my advice to people, is when you're having trouble picking a winner, don't bet. You don't lose the money. You don't have to go through the stress. And the bookies are split on this game. 4.5 is the handicap, meaning that if you bet on South Africa, they've got to win by 5 or more. And if you bet on New Zealand at plus 4.5, they can't lose by 5 or more.
Well, the Boks selection last week was all about attack-mindedness, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But that didn't play out because they didn't have the ball.
No, they were playing catch-up.
Yeah. So, yes, this is more conservative, but you just got the quality that you've known for a long time, that's reliable about creating a greater game management setup from the start.
Yeah, look, I want to see a South African win. But only 2 teams have beaten them back-to-back in 30 years. They're a very difficult team to beat.
Yeah, but this is on home turf, Gav.
Yeah.
Really is. And for the reasons, there's a lot of quality that's not available to the All Blacks. The All Blacks selection has been relatively consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Great to see that Will Jordan back as 15.
Yeah.
Is that going to make much of a difference from a counter-attacking perspective or a kick-chase perspective? I don't know. You got high levels of production on the wings with Sevi Reece and Mark Talea. Much more is needed, I think, from the centre combination of Barrett and Ioane. And Cortez Ratima starts at number 9. We haven't seen a great deal of him. We haven't seen his array of talents yet. So another opportunity for him to keep the opposition guessing.
Yeah.
But it's the front 5. It's the back 3. It's how they.
Were you not impressed with New Zealand, the way that their front 5 manned up last week?
No, I was super impressed.
Yeah?
Super impressed. Oh. Absolutely, yeah. And you got to back it up, and that's rugby union is about consistency. What you do repeatedly is who you are. I mean, that is exactly what Razor is expecting. Ardie Savea, who has been tremendous in the All Black jersey, has taken on so much over the last 18 months, 2 years. Because he's been, more often than not, the most standout All Black on the field by a country mile.
Yeah.
But even he doesn't look as excited as his normal self because he knows the amount of work rate that he has to go through. So you've got to share that workload. So there's a greater onus this weekend now to be smarter with the use of the ball and use of energy.
But I always have a betting axiom, and I have a few of them. And one is I never bet when I think a team accomplishes something, which the Boks did last week. It was energy sapping for the crowd watching the game. So when I think of the psychology involved in the players, that was a huge win for them last week. Really huge win. It's incredibly tough to get up and win again the following week. I've seen it
I know.
Not happen so many times.
I know. But what do you have here? You have 2 generals coming back in the side who, Villy was omitted last week, so, there's some freshness in his appreciation for what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Business needs to be taken care of this Saturday.
Yeah.
Business. This is business. And Andre Pollard.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have to say much more about Andre. He knows how to engineer a game. He knows how to close out games. He knows what needs to be done when it comes to the run play option, the attacking options that he can create, bring players onto the ball, and if the ball isn't quick enough, isn't good enough, the pass is not spot on, then he has the distribution from his kicking ability to peg the corners and turn the pressure on the All Blacks. We saw a very, I think, free-flowing game last weekend. The spectrum. It was end-to-end.
Yeah.
Very little error. The errors that occurred in the middle 30 gave both sides penetration and field position and such. And then that'll be the same this weekend.
Yeah, for me though, Scott, I never go against my gut. And my gut tells me that at 18-10, I'll gladly bet on the All Blacks to win outright for 1,000. And if it cost me 1,000 rand for the Boks to get a back-to-back win, I'd gladly pay it. So for me, it's.
So do you say this is less of a higher scoring game this weekend?
Yeah, I do. I think there'll be a lot more tactical kicking, a lot less helter-skelter. blustery winds as well. Winds supposed to pick up to 26 kilometers an hour times during the games, which makes a game where the ball's in the air not as fluid as it should be. So to me, I just have to. I do like if there's an over/under bet where I can get over 65% return for under 51 points, I'll be lumping onto that.
Yeah.
But in terms of picking a winner, I have to go with my gut. I have to go with New Zealand, just because of the rarity of beating the All Blacks back to back. It's a mountain to climb, and it's as difficult, if not more difficult, the following week, because you've got to raise yourself again. So to me, I am going All Blacks by the smallest of margins. And my score is 21-19 All Blacks.
25-19 to the Boks this week.
That's true.
I think it's a 5-6 separation. I just feel that the inclusion of Vili, but more importantly, the halfbacks and their input on the game, and that effect, for me, is going to be the game changer.
Well, we can end the show with this. The accounts department are not happy with me after last week.
No, incredibly.
26 people picked the correct score.
Yeah.
So we're going to send you those big checks.
Yeah.
Look, I don't know what your bank is telling you. This is a real check. I signed it myself.
It's written in glitter, man. Can't you just, write me a regular size check?
Maybe you should try a different bank.
With the big check thing there, and
take
that to the bank that cashes in the big check departments. You'll get paid. No, just kidding. We will pay everybody.
Sure? I thought that might be a nice keepsake, just to have a big check. In the spirit of the show and rugby and such.
Listen, mate. You know where
You
people
got
can
on your bets,
You know
Kev.
where you got on your bets. I didn't make any bets. I just said I would pay people. 26. Well done out there. We do have a very knowledgeable rugby crowd.
Absolutely, yeah.
I know our guys are processing the 26 payments, and you will get paid. Please don't message me directly, guys. I am not the accountant in this company. But yeah, well done to the 26. And again,
I think this weekend now. I think this scoreline this weekend feels a little bit more predictable.
Wow.
So we might even have more.
Well, great.
Correct.
It's the economy's growing. Things are getting positive in South Africa. So if we give 26 people 1,000 rand to spend, I'm sure it'll help in the minutest of ways. But we'll have the same competition. Predict the correct score. And guys, don't predict the score halfway through the game.
Or 7 minutes into the game, as someone did.
Yeah.
Even though it's, they got it right.
Yeah, but they had a 7-minute head start, and we obviously don't. You've got to play by the rules. So
once the horse is bolted, the bet's off, isn't it?
Yeah, no more bets, or when the ball's spinning in the roulette table. So we're gonna have that competition again. Please like and subscribe. We love doing the show.
Apologies from me. I'm trying to be a little bit cute and cuddly this morning, but the whole Ticketmaster escapade just drove me insane yesterday. But again, I will say I'm grateful and thankful that I do have a ticket for Saturday and will be there shouting for the winner, and that is rugby.
Oh, aren't you cute? And folks, Scott, it's been so much fun having you over. 4 days out of 7, I'd say. and you don't have to apologize, mate. You could be. I get the frustrations. There's probably 1,000 Zoomers or millennials out there going, "What the fuck are these guys talking about?"
Yeah, what's the problem? What's the problem?
Had the greatest experience, but I get your frustration. We felt it here. I felt it, or my PA has felt it, and may the best team win. But I just gonna have to call it New Zealand by 1. I know there'll be a lot of people there next week if the Boks win saying, "So what do you say now, money man?" I say the same thing. I don't bet against.
Well, you have a 66%.
66%, eh?
Winning record to protect, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, I got 3. So even if I get this one wrong, that's 3 out of 4. My big bet will be on the points, and keep an eye on the points, folks. I don't think this one's a big scoring game. I hope it is, but I just don't think so. But people have a difficulty in betting on low on points, because they just think there's so many points because it limits people. And it's I found it myself. I would never bet on any points low in a game just because I was an optimist. I always wanted to see lots more, and but it's all part of becoming a profitable punter. So that will be my big bet of the weekend. Low at 50, but 50.5. Anything lower than 51 for me at 65%. I'll be all over that. But if you can have a bet on the game, and even if you bet the way you want, always back your gut and bet responsibly.
The other targets. That's getting some momentum from them. Offside of Arnott. Next carry just a metre short. And Williams!